It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. Welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka. Hi, Jeffrey.
Good morning, Bukola, and welcome to the program. It's a Wednesday edition of the program, counting down to the end of the month. Maybe I'm in a hurry, I wouldn't know. But the year is almost coming to an end. This is just a little reminder of some audit as individuals, as families, as a nation, as all of us, to see how well or how not well we've done, depending on which area of your life you're actually examining, Bukola.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of audit, what would you be auditing this morning? Finances? Because I know you're high on finances. I recall at the start of the year, some of the counsel that you gave us about investment.
You have to audit everything. Finances are easy to track. That's why it's easy to audit. It's more quantitative. It's not qualitative. It's what you put in, you get out. You check through how you spread your portfolio, whether you are investing in anything or not, whether you rely on just your salary or all of that. It just basically just gives you a bit of a reality check when you do those audits. So maybe just look at your account statement for the monies that are paid through accounts. You check through your account statement and get to see, okay, inflows and outflows, revenues and expenditure, blah, blah, blah. You look at all of that, and you're able to tell yourself the truth. And that's when you now realize, for some persons, your money may look big in terms of your salary. Then when you do it to dollar terms, you realize you earn maybe $150 or $200. And then we do what we call the annualization. You analyze it in a whole year. So you break it down to say, okay, this year, how much did I make? So if you did not set a target, you can't really measure. If you had told yourself, I'm going to make 20 million, 100 million, that is not the Dangotes of this world. I mean, just average persons, 50 million, 100 million. Then you look at all the monies that came into your account and all the monies you're expecting. So if you bought shares, you're making two-way money. If you sold some of the shares when the market rallied or dividend paid to you, you'd be able to say, okay, I made money. Yeah, if you're into Forex, you made money. If your salary, look at it, at the end of the day, you'll be able to do plus and minus. And okay, my target was 50 million, but I was able to generate 20, 30, or even exceeded. Then you can now plan for the next year. And then, are you reinvesting? Are you buying property? What exactly are you doing? So, or you're just getting by. And there's no crime in getting by. Perhaps the year was not good to you. You just re-strategize for the next year. Because the taxes are coming, so get your taxes right.
Well, Jeffrey, you haven't been a very good teacher this year. You're the one that's supposed to be taking us through all the course 101s on investment and digital financing. You know, I recall we started it, but we didn't quite take off as satisfactorily as we ought to have done. But speaking of audits, you know, another aspect that perhaps we should begin to audit is, you know, personal leadership, how we show up with ourselves, how we lead ourselves, how we show up at work, how we show up in our relationship with friends, you know, with family, how we prioritize family, how we take care of ourselves, self-care, how we're well-grounded spiritually, because that's the base that informs every other thing that we do, how we interact with people, not just at work, online and offline, everywhere else that space is. And of course, personal KPIs as they reflect career KPIs as well. Those are also very, very important aspects of our life that we should begin to audit and take note of. Finances inclusive, so it's not too late to start with that. And I'm going to be on Jeffrey's case in the next couple of days. But speaking of personal or leadership audit, some people that should be doing that are members of the People's Democratic Party. And we saw the production, albeit unplanned, of series films or episodes of drama from one chapter to another yesterday at the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party when leaders of two opposing groups wanted to take control of the the structure, the premises of the People's Democratic Party, such that they could hold, on the one hand, the inaugural National Working Committee meeting after the Ibadan Convention, and on the other hand, the Board of Trustees meeting led by the Wike Group. Of course, showing up on their behalf is the National Secretary of the party, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, of course, who had taken control of the party secretariat, who had accessed it, rather, in the morning. And, of course, there was heavy security presence. And, of course, he told pressmen that he invited them, that he had written, and he also wrote to INEC. And it's normal for meetings of such magnitude to have that level of security. But afterwards came the arrival of leaders of the other group, and then the show of force commenced, with other members of the Wike Group trying to prevent them from gaining access into the building. And then they gained access, and then the chaos unfolded. This is another level of a show of shame from the opposition party, the People's Democratic Party. Perhaps we'll take some of the high points of the drama that unfolded yesterday at the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party, the Wadata Plaza in the Federal Capital Territory.
All right, that's the drama that played out at the Wadata Plaza. Wadata Plaza is the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party yesterday, when the two groups, the NWC from the National Convention has been elected, led by Turaki, and of course, Samuel Anyanwu, who is the secretary of the Wike-led group, headed by Abdurrahman Mohammed, also trying to, show off. We already knew there's going to be, some level of face-off. We spoke about it even before it happened. We did not know it's going to degenerate to this very embarrassing point. Adults cannot just put themselves together. But we're still watching and following. Eventually understand the Turaki group. I saw Governor Makinde, Bala Mohammed, leading that charge. I think they were tear gas, or they were in the premises when the place was tear gas. I think our colleague was also, one of our colleagues was also affected by that tear gas. And it's just a show of shame by some of the action of the police yesterday with what they did. But we're still investigating, so I don't want to make comment on that. Just looking at how the opposition People's Democratic Party is just struggling for its soul. But the decision has been made, suspension, no, it's not even suspension, expulsion and counter-expulsion. But it's going to be, I don't want to say too much, but it's going to be one of our main conversations today. We have the experts who will be breaking it down for us on the program. But that is the latest according to, as far as the politics and polity is concerned. But Bukola, why I'm just sad to see this is that I've never seen a collective of opposition in this much disarray, just like I've seen under Bola Tinubu administration. They are fingering him to be responsible for planting all of these men here and there. They have also constantly denied. But while they are busy fighting politics and gearing up for the next election, our girls are being kidnapped. We're seeing some security reports from Kwara State, some attacks in Kwara State. We're yet to confirm a few things. That's why we don't want to give a specific information. But those videos I saw and some of the information we've gotten is very disturbing. And I think that should be the focus. That should be what we expect the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, the now ADC to be busy about engaging the federal government led by Bola Tinubu, our president, to say, no, 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 whatever it is you're doing, you're not doing enough. Because I saw some videos again yesterday of how our soldiers are paying the supreme price, getting captured, being dehumanized by these terrorists and cowards in the name of terrorism and all of that. I don't know how far this will last. I don't know how long this will be, but some action has to be taken. We need to take action to make our people feel safe. We cannot continue to drop the ball when it comes to the basic. When the Constitution was drafted, the first responsibility is security of lives and property. Every other thing you do, if this is not done, you're wasting your time. You did not succeed. In fact, any administration that fails with security has failed. It's inconsequential, whatever you did, as great as they may sound, because human beings need to be alive to be able to enjoy whatever it is you put on the table. But when people are no longer feeling safe, it's not just good. And as I always say, I believe government is doing something, but apparently it's significantly not enough. Thank you to our servicemen who put their lives on the line and pay the ultimate price sometimes when it requires that. We appreciate you. We thank you for your service, but there's a lot more to be done. And so today on the program, we're going to start off with a conversation around security. That is going to be the big focus. We can't leave it because that is the primary responsibility of government. If our people are not safe in Katsina, Kano, Lagos, anywhere, that should be the only conversation. And from there, we'll dovetail into that crisis of the People's Democratic Party for the soul, the battle over the structure, the soul of the People's Democratic Party. All sides claiming leadership, all sides holding court document, and all of those cases, I think they're in an appeal court right now, both the judgment and the ruling. And we're expecting a ruling or a judgment sometime December 8th. And then from there, we'll talk about local government administration. There's a judgment, actually two judgments from courts of coordinate jurisdiction making pronouncement about who is responsible for outdoor advertising. So, hey, we'll touch base on that and also speak with a gentleman who is a hopeful to be the next UN General Secretary. But all of this is packaged for you today on the program. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll bring in our guests who will help us look at the dailies in just a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. So time now to dive straight into the dailies rather. Yes, and joining us is our regular for Wednesday, Mr. Igu Akiria, member Guild of Editors of Nigeria. Good morning and thank you for joining us, Mr. Akiria.
I think it's good morning, Nigerians.
Yes, indeed. It's good to see you. So let's start straight off with the Leadership newspaper this morning. And the Leadership leads with, you know, that very sad story where we started off from yesterday about the kidnap of 25 girls in Kebbi State. And take a look at this. Kebbi schoolgirls abduction, how my husband was killed. Slaying teacher's wife recounts. And there are a host of writers there. Well, two security operatives ignored Department of State Services intelligence. That's ascribed to sources. Perhaps it's an exclusive from the Leadership newspaper. Remain calm. Students will be released, Army Chief says. It's a page 4 read, and it will be an interesting one. Mr. Akiria, there you have it. While a number of Nigerians are mourning following continued attacks, there is also, you know, that demonstration of leadership failure in the opposition party. But I'd like you to speak to this, particularly with this, you know, detail coming through that intelligence may have been ignored.
Well, as you said, everyone should be mourning in Nigeria this morning. It's really, really a sad moment for everyone. I'm not happy, as you can see from even my personal demeanor this morning. I'm just not happy at all. As a Nigerian, one should really feel sad. With the abduction of 25, as we are told, 25 young girls from 13, 14 years, very little children who wants to get educated at the secondary school level. And then Nigeria failed them again. Now, what even bothers me most at this point, and I'm sure most Nigerians who are following what is happening in Kebbi State will be very, very bothered. The governor himself did say, confirmed that the DSS gave a heads up, gave an intelligence report to him, and he mobilized soldiers and security forces to the school. And they even took photographs with those girls. And then, at some point, they withdrew from the school. And 30 minutes later, this terrorist struck and took the girls away and killed the vice principal of the school and the security guard. Now, what does that tell anyone who is watching the security situation in Nigeria? There are insiders within the security forces that are collaborating with these terrorists. At the highest level of security command, there are insiders, because somebody gave instructions to the troops in the school to pull out. And immediately they pull out, it became an all clear for the terrorists to move in. So that is, if you look at it, you do not need to be a security expert to come to the basic deduction that this is pure, security compromise at the highest level. And I think that is why we are finding it difficult to overcome this terrorism challenge that we are facing. If you tie that to what even happened with Brigadier General Mohammed Umba, who was also killed, he was given his coordinates for rescue, and at some point, those coordinates I was also given to the security forces to rescue him. Somebody, I guess, in the system also gave out the coordinate to terrorists who were able to find him, because if you look at the reports that are coming in, they say as he was given the coordinate, it's possible that the terrorists tracked the communication and were able to find his location. I beg to disagree with that kind of narrative. I think somebody in the system gave out the coordinate of the general who got surrounded by terrorists, and he was killed. It's a very sad day for the country. It shows incompetence at every level at this point, every level of government. And you see politicians fighting for power. That is the lot that we have to deal with in this country at the moment. Nobody's feeling safe, whether you're in your school, in your house, anywhere you are, nobody's feeling safe. Now, I must also add quickly this morning, why is it difficult to, to stem the security challenges in the north, when the same military was able to curb the Niger Delta unrest, was able to curb the southeast unrest? Because you saw Operation Crocodile Smile, Operation Python Dance, all kinds of operations, now we have Operation Hadinkai, Operation Sarki Yama, and all of that going on. Whilst in this Niger Delta and the southeast, there appears to have been some restoration of calm. Why is it difficult to restore calm in the north? For me, I am seeing two factors there why it is becoming difficult for the security operations in the north to overwhelm the terrorists. Two factors. One, ethnicity and religion are playing a key factor. There are sympathizers, within, the communities in the north that think that, oh, it is their people that are involved in this act of terrorism. And of course, religion is also playing a role here. The dominant religion in the north is Islam. And so, well, it is time to call a spade a spade. There are people who think that, oh, perhaps what the terrorists are propagating synchronizes, it sits with them, and so they are comfortable with it. Because we are seeing voices coming out from that region. A lot of the voices, singing discordant tunes, so a lot of them apparently supporting these terrorists, supporting the activities, while some very few are condemning it. Because if the regional leaders in the north really wants this issue to end, I'm sure it will end in just 3 or 4 days. But I think there's a whole lot of sympathy at the highest level of government.
That's a very strong statement. And we'll continue to probe the entire process and everybody in charge, because it's just sad to see how our people, our girls, our boys, our men and women, even our own military, being victims of this shameful very terrifying situation we've been battling for many years now. And that's why we always argue, forget the nomenclature of whether genocide, Christian, and all of that. As far as I'm concerned, that is the reality of the Christians there. They say it is genocide. You can't take that away from them. But if you have a problem with that definition, the whole idea of the agitation is that stop the killing. So that whether it's Muslim or Christian or anybody, let's just stop the killing. I think it's as simple as that. Anyway, let's move on to Nigerian Tribune. PDP's day of tear gas chaos. Makinde, Bala Mohammed, Wike, Ayahu, others clash over Wadata Plaza. Day is about to break for a new PDP and for our democracy. That's according to Makinde. Enough is enough. PDP does not belong to one person. That's according to Bala. New party leadership thanks Nigerians for supporting democracy. Wike-backed faction expels Turaki, Mohammed, Makinde, Bode George, others dissolve Oyo, Ekiti, Bauchi, and Lagos ESCO. Are you seeing this new tit for tat? This a little show of shame, Mr. Herrera?
Well, one does not need to look too far to know where the problem is coming from in the PDP and other opposition political parties. We must not forget that in the last 2 years, the same fighting that is taking place in Wadata Plaza here in Abuja, amongst, PDP leaders, that was what also happened in the labor headquarters in around somewhere in Abuja, somewhere in Jabi area, that is Utako area, where the Labour Party has its headquarters. There was also a lot of fighting, breaking down of the walls, breaking down of the gates, until, as we speak, the Labour Party has not been able to find its feet. So what is happening in the PDP is clearly the same playbook. Who are the proponents? The proponents are known. The belligerents are well known. Those who want the PDP to fall are well known. Perhaps those who are fighting to ensure that the PDP survive. People like elder statesman, senior citizen, two-star general who has paid his dues in the army, Olabode George. His voice is very trenchant in the PDP struggle. He wants the PDP to stay afloat. But you have individuals who apparently, very clearly, it's becoming obvious, who wants the PDP to go down. For me, every politician should decide where they want to be. You either want to be in the APC or you want to be in the PDP or Labour Party. But, I mean, it is absurd for somebody to put one leg here and one leg there. It's like having a wife who didn't want a divorce. One leg is outside of the house, one leg is inside, destabilizing the home. So that is almost what you're having, playing out in the PDP. You have Governor Makinde of Oyo State, you have the governor of Bauchi State, and two of them, staying put to say, look, the PDP must survive, and the Ibadan Convention coming up with a new leadership, Tamino Turaki, emerging as the chairman of the PDP from that convention. Now, there are individuals like Wike and Samayahu and others didn't go to the Ibadan Convention. They are citing legal hurdles here and there. For me, I think it is becoming very obvious whom the hand of Esau is and the voice of Jacob. It is discernible to all Nigerians at this point now, people who are creating problems to the PDP. And for me, I'm not happy. The PDP should be allowed to survive as a political party, as an opposition party, just as the Labour Party and any other party which wants to play the opposition role. If you look at the report, what Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State is saying, because don't forget Seyi Makinde was in the G5 with Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister. They were all in Kehu, the former governor of Benue State, former governor of I think Enugu State, and but 5 of them, they were there in the G5. But what now happened? Seyi Makinde is saying that Wike and others wants a one-party state, and that he will not be alive to see Nigeria transformed to a one-party state. So I think himself and Bala Mohammed, they are in this camp saying that the PDP must stand as an opposition, while others perhaps wants to break the PDP down to pave the way for more people coming into the APC, and therefore trying to create a pathway for the one-party state. For me, I do not think that is the kind of democracy our forefathers envisaged and fought for. It is a pluralistic democracy, multi-party democracy that can provide a platform for every Nigerian with different shades of political opinion to participate in the democratic process. Everybody cannot be in one party. For me, I don't think I share that opinion as a journalist. There must be options, and there must be choices for people to make politically.
One thing is significant from the start of your commentary. You said it's beginning to be clear who the voice of. You acknowledge that indeed it's beginning to be clear who the voice of Jacob is and the hand of Esau. So, what actions will the party begin to take to address that? It appears as if even actions that have been taken, are leading nowhere. So how do you rein in on whoever it is that has the levers of control, and this control is tantamount to abuse, without necessarily overflogging the issue? The Guardian also, focuses on the unwholesome drama that unfolded yesterday at the Wadata Plaza in Abuja. It renders it this way: fears of one-party drift intensify as PDP crisis worsens, turns violent. You'll find it on page 6. So, Mr. Akaria, another part of this, event is caused by some party members for President Goodluck Jonathan to take up the candidacy of the party in 2027 to restore peace and indeed to help stabilize Nigeria. What are your thoughts on this gauntlet thrown the way of former President Goodluck Jonathan, particularly amid this crisis in the main opposition party?
For me, the silence of somebody like former President Goodluck Jonathan is no longer golden. I would expect him to speak out. It has nothing to do with whether he wants to run for presidency 2027 or not. But at this point, I think the former president, who is well respected across the country, he delivered the first globally accepted form of, democratic practice by conceding defeat to the former former president Muhammadu Buhari, who is late now. He considered defeat even before the entire results were announced. So that merely threw him into the global arena as an icon of democracy coming out of Africa. So his silence for me is no longer good. He should speak out. Not just him, other former leaders of this country. It is time to speak out, because this is about existential threat to our democracy. In those days, we used to say nascent democracy, that Nigerian democracy is still very young. We are still learning the curves, trying to make our mistakes and grow. But for going to 25 years, we can no longer say, this is a nascent democracy. We are not very matured, but the players are not matured, as it were. So for me, it is time for President Goodluck Jonathan to speak out. But the decision whether he wants to take another shot at the presidency 2027 or not is entirely his. It is not something that people can make conjecture. Yeah, there are conjectures though, that he wants to run and all of that. But even if he wants to run or he doesn't want to run, the party that made him governor of Bayelsa State, that made him vice president of this country, and eventually becoming the president of Nigeria, is in disarray, is in confusion. And not just in confusion, the problem in the PDP is threatening, even democratic stability in the country, to the extent that the elected chairman of the party from the Ibadan Convention, a senior advocate of Nigeria, Turaki, is calling on President Donald Trump, and the United States and other world leaders to intervene. Yeah, I mean, for me, that is the height of frustration that some members of the PDP, are undergoing. Don't also forget, Turaki himself was at the FCT Police Command a day prior to yesterday, that was day before yesterday, to ask the police to ensure that there is law and order at the PDP secretariat. But the police were there, apparently helpless. They didn't know which side, what to do. But at this point, INEC, there is a regulatory agency for the political parties, should clearly lead the way to say, oh, this is the recognized leadership of the party. In the midst of the cacophony of conflicting court orders. INEC should be able, because the head of INEC right now, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Joash, who is the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission, he is legally learned enough to know where the odds are, who the odds favor at this point. And there should be clarity instead of allowing governors at that level to sit and be tear-gassed and almost throwing punches at each other. This is not a democracy that Nigerians are looking up to. And like I said earlier, there must be, the drum beat is coming from somewhere, the drummer is sitting somewhere, while the dancers are clearly in Wadata Plaza. It is so unfortunate, it is tragic, and it's unacceptable.
It's very tragic, as you put it. It looks like wherever you turn, there's one issue or the other as far as the nation is concerned. I'm just looking out for what else is there on the pages of the dailies. And there are just two stories that are leading big time, and that has to do with the security in Kebbi, as well as this battle for supremacy in the People's Democratic Party. As you said, PDP, they know their problem. How they will solve it is perhaps what they are disagreeing on. But just like you said, if it's clear that you want the downfall of the party, they've all taken action in counter-expelling each other. So I don't know which expulsion will stand. Perhaps what INEC is doing now is waiting for, because they filed an appeal. I think they've even filed for self-execution from judgment of the lower court. There are two judgments and one ruling, which will be heard, because there's an interlocutory injunction that was adjourned to be heard on, I think, December the 8th. So all of that is playing out right now. So as INEC is waiting to see what the appeal will look like, and maybe wait till the Supreme Court to know, because I'm seeing all kinds of argument. One side is saying notifying INEC of, according to paragraph 12 and 13 of INEC regulations and guidelines, notifying INEC is compulsory. INEC attending is not stated there. That's another argument. The other argument is to the issue of jurisdiction, who can hear what, although because the Electoral Act is not quite clear on a few things, but since INEC is I think, a federal agency, that's where the argument is going to be heard on December the 8th. So it depends on where you look. Everybody seems to be holding on to maybe the last piece of hope to be able to seize control of the party. But if you know where this is headed at the end of the day, for those of us, you and I, who are journalists, we're sad because we're being denied the opportunity of a robust opposition, and that is not good for democracy. But before we let you go, Zakarega, ASU may be downing too soon, places members on red alert. That's according to New Telegraph. They say they are not accepting. I think there's a proposal for salary increase, and I think they just want that renegotiated deal of 2009 to be resorted and resolved. So whatever is being said by the government seems not to be entering their ears, because failed promises are being like the trend. What do you make of it?
Well, it is so unfortunate. As I said, just as you also rightly noted, everywhere you turn, there are problems in the country, and the problem of leadership. For me, it is just problem of leadership. The leadership has not been able to get its right, have not been able to focus on the critical issues. What is it with ASU all the time? When a new president comes in, he has to deal with ASU issue. I would have thought that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself, who understands all of these issues, would have called ASU leaders, renegotiated, and clear out all of the areas that the ASU leaders are talking about. We also have doctors that are on strike, National Association of Resident Doctors. So critical sectors of the economy is in turmoil, is in crisis. And I do not understand why the government appears to be dragging its foot, in resolving a lot of these, simple, I call them simple issues, because these are industrial disputes that has arisen from, the failure of government to keep its own part of the bargain, its own part of agreements. And that is what has led to all of this crisis across the various sectors of national life. Now, I must also mention that very, very quickly, because this, whether it is ASU, whether it is the health sector, whether it is business or economy. The country must survive before anybody can do any of these things. Politicians that are fighting over power now, Nigeria must survive. We must have a stable country before where lecturers can teach, before students can be in school, whether the hospitals can run effectively and all of that. So for me, if you go back to 1967, when Gowon declared a full-scale war on Biafra Republic that was in today's southeast Nigeria, first of all, when Odumegwu Ojukwu declared on May 27, 1997, declared parts of the southeast, the entire southeast Republic of Biafra, the then head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, said he was deploying police action for 2 weeks. And when he discovered that the police action, which of course was a minimal intervention by the military, was not working, soldiers were being killed, the head of state at the time, Gowon, then declared a full-scale war on the then Biafra Republic. The question now is, terrorists are killing generals in Nigerian army, going to schools, stopping the schools from operating, making the entire country almost ungovernable, particularly in northern Nigeria. As we speak, Kwara State is almost going down. Kogi State is almost impassable. So what is the president waiting for before the country declares a full-scale war on terror, on these so-called terrorists? Because we cannot continue to pamper them, talk about reintegration, bring them and feed them, and they go back and wreak more havoc on the nation. So for me, ASU, yes, the government has to address that, but the priority issue in the country today is security. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has his work clearly cut out. He must leave everything he's doing now, focus on security. It's not about sending the vice president to Kebbi to commiserate with families and soldiers. The president now has his work cut out, sit and give clear directive as commander-in-chief, declare full-scale war on these terrorists. If it's to withdraw soldiers from other regions to the hotspot in Borno State, in Yobe State, in Kebbi, and flush these individuals out of the forest, we also have to do that. I said it last week that the borders in northern Nigeria, bordering Niger, Chad, Cameroon, we need to shut it down for 3 months and go after these terrorists once and for all, because we are at war with them. They are telling us clearly, they are showing videos of the brigadier general that was murdered, but was killed by them, and we are still making it look like it's business as usual. I'm not happy this morning. It is time to declare a full-scale war on them. It's just the time to declare full-scale war.
Yeah, we identify with your sentiments this morning, and just to mention that CAN is also doubling down on its position that indeed there is, a targeted attempt to, exterminate Christians, confirming from its own position that indeed there is, Christian genocide in Nigeria. So I'm just wondering if, we need to deal with this the root causes rather than the symptoms, when you also consider the conversation around Nigeria having blasphemy laws and Sharia deeply entrenched in our judicial system. But that's another part of the conversation entirely. We must anchor this segment at this point, and thank you for coming on the show, for providing your insights, as always, on this segment. Mr. Igwe Akiria is a member, Board of Editors, Guild of Editors of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
It's always a pleasure, Bukola and Jeffrey. Thank you.
Yes, we'll take a moment, and when we return, it'll be time, of course, to continue with our conversation in the same breath on national security. Our guest is already standing by, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's now talk and continue in that trail of national security, because what else is more important than our lives being safe out there? We've been joined in the program by Dr. Yahuza Getso. He's a security, intelligence, and investigation expert. He's also a farmer. He's a community-driven development professional and forest intelligence therapist. Loads of caps he wears. Mr. Getso, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Let's build on what our previous guest talked about, Mr. Kerega. And I know you have a lot of background. You're a farmer, so you've experienced all of these farmer header issues. You understand the intelligence element. You've seen these things firsthand. But let me just start maybe from the end, and then we'll come to the beginning. His question was, with the way the government approached maybe IPOB in the East, Niger Delta, in the militants in the Niger Delta, why is it difficult to declare a state of emergency and clear out these criminal elements who are terrorists? Because I don't admit the name bandits. Some people do, but it's fair. Who are killing our people, killing our soldiers, making our spaces ungovernable, causing problem for government?
Thank you very much for the question. Well, the reality is, you know, there are 5 outlined to 6 outlined issues. One, Nigerian government intentionally refused to accept the reality as it is. Secondly, there is issue with the policy. The government policy on fighting the insurgency has not been effective, and it hasn't worked towards attending to who is responsible, who to be held accountable, and why. And at the same time, we have issues of negligence, internal sabotage, inability of lack of proper coordination. Because like you mentioned, yes, of course, call them either bandits, insurgents, kidnappers, whatever. But who are really these people are? Do we know them? Do we know who they are? Do we know why they are? Why are we finding it difficult to address this challenge? Something that is manageable. Why is our security management becoming like a child play? Because we have all the intelligence, we have all the information, we have all the ingredients needed for us to address and attend to this issue. You know who are the bandits, you know who are the IPOB, you know who are the Boko Haram, you know why they are, and you know how to manage the situation accordingly, but you refused intentionally. Or there are a lot of issues related to compromises. Corruption is playing a great role, and so on and so forth. So as far as I'm concerned, if we really want to address this issue squarely, government must sit to its responsibility. Government must be responsible, not irresponsible. Government must address the issues of compromises. Government must hold people accountable and responsible for the authorities given to them, and so on and so forth. And all hands must be on deck for us to address this issue. We know the bandits. They are not foreigners, they are Nigerians. We know who they are. We know where they are. And we do have necessary intelligence ahead of almost all the attacks. 24/7, every now and then we do provide relevant authorities or relevant agencies with required intelligence for them to do the needful. But why are we yet to address this issue?
That's the big question, Dr. Getso. And thank you for the insights that you've provided so far. I'm curious about, you know, and this is unsettling, the WhatsApp message came through online of General Uba when he was interacting with the backup that was coming to rescue him. Well, still waiting for the defense headquarters to, you know, confirm all of this. And it was unsettling to note that there may have been some compromise, you know, even within the military that led to his recapture. Help us understand this challenge of internal sabotage and why it is difficult to rein in on this, because we hear this time and again. At the peak of the insurgency in Nigeria's northeast, there were serious concerns that, you know, there were moles within the military. Help us understand why, you know, 10 years down the line, it is still the challenge.
Well, there are 5 outlined reasons for this. One, our recruitment, training, promotion, and posting have been compromised due to negligence and corruption. That is one. Secondly, yes, of course, this has been happening, like you mentioned, in the last 10 years. There are a lot of issues within the cycle of all the security strata, all the security outfits, not only the military. There are a lot of compromises that are leading to this internal negligence, negligence within, sabotage within, and all these compromises are coming around as a result of hatredness, jealousy, professional jealousness, and also inability of the system to checkmate and deal with those who have been found wanting and deal with them accordingly, so that could have served as a deterrent for others to take lessons out of it. Yes, of course, we are waiting for defense to respond to whether the allegation is true or not. However, there are a lot of other issues, really complex, within the cycle of the military, in the Nigerian Army, in the Nigerian Air Force, in the Nigerian Navy, in the DSS, in the police, in the immigration, custom, and all the security strata that we have. It is sad to have, how do you think someone will just sit down and create this story? Yes, of course, we are waiting for defense to respond, but however, how many have been held accountable and responsible for the negligence, for the compromise, for the sabotage, against the states, not even against the military rules, not even against the military decrees, not even against the military code of conduct. How many? It is inability for us to have handled those who are responsible or found wanting accordingly. How can this message, within a short period of time, reach the telegram of ISWAP, the WhatsApp of ISWAP, the WhatsApp of Boko Haram, the telegram of Boko Haram, and then move easily, separately in circulation? And up till now, we cannot get a response from the defense. It is really sad. And the question is, if at all somebody like a brigadier general will find himself in such a situation and cannot have an emergency response, and for somebody to have generated a coordinate and submit such information, even if he didn't generate the coordinate, at least at a time when they were ambushed, there must be a communication system which is communicating between the convoy of the brigadier and the other formations within the cycle. What is the theater of the military doing that they couldn't have worked fastly? Why is the Air Force? Why is the rapid response team? Why is the rapid response squad? This is a brigadier general, and it is the issue that if the brigadier general will be picked like just an ordinary ant, then who is safe and who is going to be safe, and how and when and until when the Nigerian military or Nigerian security strata will use the right intelligence at the right time for the right action.
So I can confirm to you that Brigadier General Uba was killed by the terrorists because the president, in his condolence message and his order to the military to go after the terrorists and rescue these girls, commiserated with the army, commiserated with the Uba family, as well as the girls who are still in captivity, and the state government commending Governor Idris for what he did first. So it's no longer aspect, even though I have not checked the Defense HQ as of yesterday, they didn't acknowledge it, but now the Commander-in-Chief has said that the man died while fighting Boko Haram insurgents. So let's build from that on this particular one. And that has to do with the president's appeal. First, it seems we know our problems most of the time, but how to solve it is always where we seem not to agree. There's a school of thought that says, in fact, this is the same fate that former President Jonathan suffered. I remember vividly and clearly when Boko Haram started raising its ugly head. Some persons were screaming, proscribe, designate them, and all of that, so that the full might of the state can come on them because they are terrorists. Well, perhaps he was thinking of re-election, just like they always do, thinking of their own ambition over the welfare of the people most of the time. He was a bit slow when it got so bad. That's when we now finally classified them terrorists and then started going after them. But then the seeds have been planted, and now we're seeing this happening again, over and over. So he is calling, the president, Bola Tinubu, is calling for community support. Do you think, because there's also allegation of community supporting the terrorists, how should the state navigate this part when some community people are supporting the terrorists, but the president is also calling and saying, look, if you don't give us intelligence, there's no way the military can do their work. And he's very correct about that. So how do we navigate this very difficult terrain of some communities supporting the terrorists for whatever reason, maybe out of fear, out of coercion, or out of just sheer sympathy, as against the president calling for intelligence to kick them out?
Well, the reality is, it is very clear. Like I said, when I say we, I'm referring to Nigerian communities. We know who are the bandits. We know who are the criminals, like you rightly said. Yes, of course, at the same time, we know who have really been supporting and providing necessary information, operational information, intelligence, social needs, and other essential requisites to the bandits, to all the Boko Haram and all others. So if at all we will be sincere and honest, we must do 5 things. 1, we must fix our judiciary, because many have been apprehended as informers. Many have been apprehended as suppliers of essential commodities to the bandits, to the kidnappers, to the Boko Haram, and so on and so forth. Many have been apprehended as arm movers, arm traders, arm dealers, and arm importers. And also, many have been found wanted or have been challenged among the politicians, political office holders, elected, anointed, appointed, and so on and so forth. But the question is, have the judiciary in any way handled these issues squarely and in accordance with the law of the nation? So that could have served as a deterrence for others to take lessons and to deter themselves, to take it as a lesson, so that they will not participate in what is happening. But rather, you will report an informer, the informer will be captured, either informer of Boko Haram, either informer of bandits, either informer of ISOP, either informer of IPOP, either informer of Ansaru, either informer of Lakura, or informer of whatever. But at the same time, maybe after 2-3 months, you will realize that maybe he has been arrested in Sokoto, and you will have information that he is now living comfortably in Maiduguri or somewhere in Kano also. So we must fix our judiciary. And secondly, those who have been given the responsibility of apprehension and detailing the person must provide way of providing feedback. And number 3, we must be able to change the way and manner we recruit personnel, the way and manner we train personnel, the way and manner we promote personnel, the way and manner we post personnel. We must, number 4, we must address corruption. As far as we cannot address corruption, whatever intelligence I may have, I will not venture to present it, to share it. I will compromise rather with the criminals, because that's what the large populace prepare. They prepare to come to connive with the criminals to get a token. You realize that many that have been apprehended supporting the bandit or kidnappers, how much has been collected as Mr. A or Mr. B that has been kidnapped? 20 million. How much have you been given out of the 20 million? They will say 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, or at maximum 50,000 or 100,000. So, which means there must be something, there must be a gap. And then finally, within the cycle of the security themselves, yes, of course, those whistleblowers, we have the whistleblower policy, but how has the policy been effective? How has it been helping the situation? Because I have the fear of unknown, that if I have intelligence and I reported to police station A, unit commander of the military B, the DSS office C, and so on, civil defense E, and so on and so forth. Within the next 24 hours, or even less than that, the same criminal will send a signal to our community, or will send a message to my phone number, or will call me directly and inform me that you have reported so to so at so time. We are going to deal with you accordingly. So this have created fear. And again, I that I'm talking to you, I have not been deterred, or I have not been, I have been having access with all the hierarchy of the security agencies in the last 17 years or so, up till to date. I have been providing the necessary intelligence, necessary information at the right time for the right action, but nothing has been taken seriously. Let me tell you, the incident that happens in Kebbi is a total compromise, it's a total negligence, it's a total sabotage against the state. Because I, that I'm talking to you, I have provided information about insinuations that some local governments, including the Dankosogu, Rijau, Yawuri, Ingaski, Sakaba, and Mashegu, as well as Mariga, are at risk of a serious attack by bandits. I have sent information to the highest level of authority, to the highest level of intelligence, to the highest level of operational team within the cycle of the states of Kebbi and that of sorry, and that of Niger, and to the hierarchy at Abuja, and to the hierarchy at certain levels. But yet, after 3 hours, I still follow up. These guys are still coordinating themselves. These guys are within so location, so location. I even sent a coordinate. I received a coordinate. I directed my network at those places to provide me with a coordinate. I shared this coordinate, but as a result of sabotage and negligence, and because nobody have been held responsible and accountable, that is why all these criminals have not been barricaded. And if at all it is a confirmed information, there were also presence of a military or whatever security within the school, but they left. After they left, within short period of time, the bandits came in. And even while the attack was going on, I made several calls to the hierarchies. If the hierarchies are watching me, they know. They know I made several calls when the bandits were conducting the activity. But nobody responded to my call up till now that I'm talking to you, asking why are you calling at this hour? And they know whenever I'm calling them at such time, odd times, there must be something very serious. So up till now that I'm talking to you, the hierarchy of intelligence, the hierarchy of operation, the hierarchy of security architecture that I have sent, I have passed a call, have not called me back, or even rather send an SMS that, sorry, I missed your call. What were you think about to report also? So how do you build the confidence and trust of Nigerians that the government is serious, the system is serious? It's absolute system failure. We have the problem, we have the solution, we know the solution, but we intentionally refused to direct our eyes to the solutions.
Dr. Getso, if we get you correctly, you are saying that you had intelligence of the attack on Magugu. What's the name of that local government in Kebbi State? Maga, prior to the attack on the secondary school where 25 girls were kidnapped. You had intelligence, and you provided this intelligence, but the military failed to act.
Absolutely.
So who should we be?
I said authority. I said a hierarchy.
The hierarchy. So who should we be?
Yes, an intelligence hierarchy.
Two questions now.
I have the intelligence.
Two questions
I provided the intelligence that the local government, the entire local government of Donkosogu, the entire areas of Maru, in Ansado side of Maru local government in the Forest State, the entire local government of Nasko, Rijau, Mashegu, Yawuri, because the guys were coordinating themselves within those areas, within the radius of less than 100 kilometers. I provided this information. I don't really have specific information that they were targeting school, but I have information that they were coordinating themselves and they were attacking villages, and I provided this information.
So two questions in one now. Who should we be holding responsible? Is it the National Security Advisor? Is it the Minister of Defense or Chief of Army Staff? That's on the one hand. Now, this failure to act, is it deliberate, or perhaps your intelligence was just not taken seriously?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it is deliberate. because refusal to take my intelligence on serious is a deliberate action. Ordinarily, there are distress call numbers that has been sent around by DSS, by police, by military, and so on and so forth. Those numbers, anybody who called and provided intelligence, if not being utilized immediately, it's a deliberate negligence, it's a deliberate sabotage. Not even Dr. Yahuza that is known to them. Not even Dr. Yahuza that is known of providing proactive information and on support information 247 in the last 17 years. I have been providing this information directly and indirectly, and they know me and they know who I am. And they know what we have been doing in supporting the country patriotically. We are not doing it for the need of any token. We are not doing it for the need of any press or any request for any political position or whatever. We are doing it because we believe Nigeria is ours. And it is my responsibility as a trained security expert, as somebody who have network in all the political wards, almost in all parts of the space of the country's 774 local governments. It is my responsibility. As I am harnessing, as I am generating, as I am getting information, I quickly share it to the relevant authorities as at when due. And 247, I provide this information in the midnight, I provide it in the daylight, I provide it in the evening. It is on record. My records are there, the records are there. It can be checked. So I provided the information and I follow up 3 hours after. And like I said, a coordinate of where these bandits are coordinating themselves. I doesn't really have specific and precise information that they were going to attack schools. But wherever they are going to attack is part of Nigeria. Wherever going to take over and as a non-state actors is within Nigeria. So if I provide that information and anybody who refuses intentionally or unintentionally or for whatever reason, I want to tell you that I only receive acknowledge and thank you after 12 hours after the abduction of the schoolgirls. So which means in fact all the information I provided was utilized. The intelligence I provided was utilized.
All right, Dr. Getso, some very serious revelations that you made here, and it's just a wow situation. And even, you know, reading through the lines and the nuances of the president's statement, it feels like he was saying that there were efforts being made. Perhaps I don't know who was a weak link that did not follow through. But in 1 second, just before we let you go, you understand the movements of these people. You may not understand their exact mission. Are they Nigerians? Are they non-Nigerians? Just a simple answer.
99.9% of the bandits operating in northwest and north central Nigeria, they are Nigerians. 99.9% of them, we know who they are, we know where they are not in any hideout or any difficult terrain.
Dr. Yahuza Gatso, thank you so much. Security, intelligence, and investigation expert, community-driven development professional, and a farmer. We'll get to keep talking with you as far as this conversation. There's a lot to unravel with you, but for want of time, we'll let you go for now, and may God help Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. All the best.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll switch gears. So another part of the conversation in just a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. So we head over to the next leg of our conversation, which would be politics, the PDP to be precise, and with the chaos and confusion that played out yesterday as opposing groups of the party battled for the soul and structure of the party. You know, one wonders if, you know, the ship of the opposition party is not just sinking, but has now drowned. And can it still be rescued if it has only just begun to drown? Very important questions, you know, amid the complexity of the factors fueling the leadership crisis in the People's Democratic Party is concerned. Now, joining us on the program to look at that this morning is Professor Anthony Killer. Professor Anthony Killer is the Director, Center for International Advanced and Professorial Studies, and he's also a professor of strategy and development. He joins us virtually this morning. Professor Killer, thank you for joining us on the program, and it's good to see you again.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Before we begin with politics, it's very important to also get your insights and your thoughts on the challenge of national security, particularly with the many troubling stories coming through in the last 48 hours. The capture and killing of Brigadier General Uba. We're seeing very unsettling videos from Kwara State about an attack by bandits in a church. And, of course, that very worrying kidnap of 25 girls from a secondary school in Kebbi State. What are your thoughts and concerns from some of the details that are beginning to come through, particularly from the killing of the Brigadier General and the kidnapping in Kebbi State?
Well, I think the first thing is that, to say, it's a very sad development, and one must remember that whilst we talk about figure and use an expression like terrorism, we should think of families who have been deprived of their loved ones. We should think of blood flowing, flesh that have been caught. If we think about it that way, we will see the gravity of what is going on. Before we even think of the national effect, the human effect is a very sad effect. It's barbaric, it's gruesome, it's sad, it's heartbreaking on a very personal level. On a, sort of national conceptual level, it is clear that these terrorists, for them to be doing this now, given what the country is going through, where we're dealing with international allegations and we're dealing with elucidating the meaning of genocide or not genocide, for them to do this, it means that they are not relenting and they are at war with the country. I believe the best thing to do right now is to, if it has been said, to reinstate that the Nigerian country is at war against terrorists and bandits. And starting from this moment, we shall deploy all our forces against them. The forces to deploy will include military brutal war forces. The forces to deploy will include intelligence. What we need to show the world, particularly the bandits and the terrorists right now, is that this country is stronger than them and they will feel our force. I understand those who talk about socio-economical battle of hearts and mind. That needs to be done as well. But I'm a believer in fighting against those who want to kill you by killing them as much as possible. I'm a big believer in raining bombs and bullets and boots on ground against terrorists whilst we deal with the social economic issues as well. The state needs to be present. The essence of a state is the possession of legitimate and superior force. Monopoly to legitimate and superior force. If the state cannot deploy superior force, then the state is failing.
Very instructive and is reminiscent of thoughts from the book of former Chief of Defense Staff, General Irabo, who spoke recently. But let's continue with politics now. There'll always be ample time also to reflect on national issues subsequently. I'm sure you have not stopped, taking a second look and second thoughts on the drama, high drama that played out at the headquarters of the PDP yesterday. And there are two significant questions that arise. What does this mean, for our democracy, our values, the values of our democracy? And what does this development mean for the opposition, valuable opposition and strong opposition to put the ruling party to account?
Well, I think on this issue, which again is another sad, embarrassing issue, there are three things to be said. Number one, let's be very clear about one thing. The reason why we're discussing this thing this morning is not because we're part of the PDP or we're against the PDP. It is because as citizens, as observers, as lovers of institution and democracy, we agree that there needs to be a strong, viable, vibrant opposition. And I think even those in government, if they're worthy of their name as statesmen, will understand that there needs to be a viable, vibrant opposition, because that is what gives governments legitimacy. So when the oppositions appears in chaos like this, it is a bonus, it is a blow to the democratic architecture of the country. It is a blow to our institutions. That is, a framework. Inside the framework, we then need to realize that what we see, what you're showing on TV, what we've seen yesterday, is a signal that it is not well with our political class, as it were. Political parties should be a gathering of like minds who are bounded by a shared high purpose. If they are like minds, they won't be willing to deploy thugs against each other and be pushing each other, because they'll be friends. What binds them will be bigger than what divides them. And if once they come together, they are guided by higher purpose, service to the state, vision to improve their society, there will be less need for this kind of thing. That is in terms of vision. But also show in terms of personality. Unfortunately, they confirm what I've always suspected a long time ago, that too many of the people ruling us, aspiring to ruling us, are not worthy of being called statesman or leader. They resort to thuggery, to violence, because they cannot debate, they cannot consult. In a way, what happened in PDP headquarters yesterday happened because there was no Yerima.
What a way to land your thought. That was a big song. Prof, I was just seeing some videos now where two governors, Bala Mohammed, Sheyi Makinde, literally had to block the entrance. I understand there was an SUV heading into the secretariat. I also understand that SUV had Nyesom Wike inside, but we didn't see him physically come down. At least I didn't see videos of him. But I understand that SUV was... So they stayed there and said, this is not going to happen. Now, if you were to advise, I know you advise, a range of people. If you were to advise the PDP right now, because right now, like, everybody needs to now come together and advise the opposition parties on how to put their own house in order so that this democracy can thrive and survive. As we speak, the APC has, I think, literal majority in the Senate, and as closing on that, I think, in the House of Reps. Now, that has its own pros and cons as well, depending on what is being presented to them. They have a perception of being rubber stamped. So that in itself, perception-wise, the National Assembly is not looking good before the populace. And they've constantly pushed back on that narrative. But it looks like everything that's sent to them is scaled through. I remember Adams Oshomole, the senator, current senator, had to stand up the other day and say, look, in other words, we're not rubber stamp. We need time to be able to look at these issues. So where I'm going to with this is to the effect that, what do you advise the PDP to do now? Because clearly, the picture is clear. There are people at least openly trying to protect and preserve the PDP. There are people that are clearly, openly trying to make sure the PDP works for the APC. It's as clear as crystal. There's no point hiding anything anymore because their positions are clear, at least from what they've said and their utterances.
Well, I think you're very right, and you're spot on in your analysis. I think what the PDP is going through is inevitable because for a long time there have been people inside working for the outside, and there are people who do not share interests. Let's call name and surname. The likes of Wike, they have their candidate already, who they're going to support in 27. The other people don't have the candidate yet. So you see, they're not in the same situation, really. Their positions are different. I think to get to the point where there has to be a clear fracture rather than factions is inevitable. The difference is how to get there. You expose me to the world that I consult for individuals and organizations. Yes, I do. In this kind of circumstances, the advice for them, which you allow me to give publicly and freely, the advice for them is to come together, those who want to save the party, to realize that they are in a strong battle for the soul and body of their party. They have to go back to go and rethink the way the founding fathers of not just the PDP, but the democracy of Nigeria got themselves together to fight against the military, to say we need to save this party. Sheyi Makinde, who I'm not a big fan of, spoke well yesterday when he said that the issue at stake is that we believe Nigeria should not be a monolithic structure, should not be a one-party state. So therefore, we want to preserve an opposition. So they need to think that way, to think that normally political parties fight opposition. They fight the other side. This time around, they have people inside they have to contend with that well. So they need to devise strategy along that line. It will help if they avoid this kind of scenes of violence. Because in reality, it is not a sign of weakness to stay away from that secretariat, not to show themselves as rowdy this way. They should hold on to the seal, they should hold on to the substantial power and move on with it. And I believe it is legitimate to expel anybody who's working against you. And those people can contend, they can appeal. They can come out to say, no, do not expel us. We're a bona fide member. We believe that the PDP should be the party that will produce the next president of the country. Let's work together along that line. I think, as a democratic institution, as a voluntary partisan all-comers institution, because that's the problem with political parties. There's no benchmark. You don't have to have a certain level of degree or certain understanding or pass any test to join. Anybody can join them. And the people leading political party needs to, bear that in mind. If it was an academic institution or a boardroom, one would know what to do with people who are not fit to be there. But because it's a community thing, it's an all-comers thing, the rules of engagement are different, and it's a burden of leadership for those who want to save the party. And, mind you, those who want to destroy it, it is just that what they're doing is not clear. It is legitimate to want to destroy it as well. That's the joy of partisan politics, or maybe the sadness of it. It's just that the way they're going about it, one can contend that. But, if they have a candidate and they believe their party should support that candidate, it is also legitimate for people like Wike to say, I want to support the APC candidate and I want my party to support it. The only difference is that they should sit down and have a conversation, not will talks and throwing policemen to fight each other. That is bad. That is a way to destroy the party. And those who want to save the party should ensure that the party is not destroyed.
And Prof, you just re-echoed the epiphany arrived at by our newspaper guests this morning, but you said it differently. There are those who want to save the party and there are those who want to destroy the party. And that makes me draw some details that we should be listening to coming through from members of the party in the different opposing groups. Yesterday, we heard Senator Samuel Ayanwu say that he invited the security agents. And if you watched our report yesterday, you would see that indeed there were men of the police force, there was the DSS. He said he wrote about this Board of Trustees meeting, and he, apart from the security agencies, he also wrote to INEC, and INEC acknowledged. Also yesterday, we heard the National Publicity Secretary of the Makinde Group, who spoke on our sister political program, say that this is a case of the minority in the party who want to have their way against the majority, which is curious and what we should be calling a normal happening in a democracy. So if INEC is acknowledging a meeting, of this Senator Samuel Ayanwu group, and in the Ibadan convention that we saw last Saturday, INEC did not participate. Are we seeing, the state, the paraphernalia of state, deployed in support of the Wike-led group of the PDP? And should this stand in the eyes of the law?
Well, no, it shouldn't start. It's a shame that we're even there at all. It must be said that everybody is trying to use what they can. I mean, the other party also brought their own policemen. This one brought INEC and they brought the state police. It's a shame. You see, these are symptoms. These are consequences of what has gone bad already. This is the smell of a rotten fish. Not the problem is not the smell itself. It's the fish that is rotten. That's the problem we have here. The truth of the matter is that if this party were a normal party, a stable party, a sane party, they won't need to be talking. They shouldn't need. No political party in Nigeria should we need to be talking about police and INEC. It should be a gentleman and ladies agreement where like minds just go through, discuss, debate, and come out with a united front, even where there is a minority report, knowing that, well, this was my stance and this is the majority report. I've been on to a lot of associations, and I'm known for having minority reports all the time. But you have your minority report and majority carries the day. That is the way to move on. In this case, it's a sad scenario. And I really, really want to say this to everybody involved in this PDP thing. I want to look at the camera and say, my name is Anthony Killer, and shame on all of you. Shame on all the PDP leaders, shame on all these politicians who are embarrassing themselves, embarrassing their children, disgracing the political structure of Nigeria with this kind of behavior. There is no reason why people who want to rule Nigeria should be pushing and shoving and using policemen to push each other and calling INEC like little children in classrooms saying, I told the teacher, you called the senior. This is a total disgrace. They need to go back and rethink themselves as incapable of being leaders in waiting of a big country like Nigeria.
Very, very, very strong word. It's literally a show of shame, as you said. And it looks like it's a long haul at the end of the day. And now the situation is so painful that if they are not careful, which is what I want you to speak to, the lack of, on one hand, is the lack of respect for court judgment and orders. That's on one hand. The judiciary themselves, that we will discuss that matter, because sometimes when we look at some judgment that come from the judiciary, we are questioning even the competence of some of these judges. We have a lot of fantastic judges, but some are just destroying the entire system. The Supreme Court has been very clear. At least I know two judgments that I have read the CTC, one of which is the Labour Party judgment, where the judge, just an advisory, because it's not an enforceable order of court, because the court has said, look, we don't bring anything here. The court is very clear. Justice Iheme, Choma Iheme, I think that's her name, allowed herself. Yes, during the Rivers case, although it was a controversial case as to why she was ruling on something that was not presented to her, but in a 10-page contributory judgment, they were very clear. Even I think Justice Agbim as well was very clear that anything that has to do with membership, those were the words, membership and leadership of a political party, is not justiciable. Don't bring it here. But we now see, and then you go to the issue of the Labour Party, the same thing. The judge did not give an enforceable order of court, just simply advised that put your acts together if your tenure has ended.
But you see, one thing needs to be said.
Sorry, Prof. Where I'm going to is, I think they call it stare decisis. The Supreme Court has ruled on membership and leadership, but we see lower courts consistently assuming jurisdiction. What do you make of it?
Well, that's why I was going to go. That's going to go to. I was going to go to the Supreme Court standing. You see, there is some judges and judgments that are enforceable and are high profile. There are some that are not enforceable. That makes more sense. The decision, the judgment that says membership issues should be left as membership level is a very rational, commonsensical position to be taken. I want our bench and our bar to take note that partisan politics in Nigeria is very corrupt and very debasing, very destructive, very toxic. And they should do well to stay away from it as much as possible. The continuous involvement of the judiciary in matters of political party is eroding the trust that observers and average citizens have in the judiciary. And they should be very careful not to be pushed down with it. Because partisan politics, partisan affairs, by nature, cannot be objective. Those people do not seek truth. They do not seek justice. They do not seek fairness. They seek power. They seek to possess. They seek to dominate. As a result, all their actions cannot, regardless of what they come to tell you, all their actions are partisan. It is for a part. It is never for the whole. So I advise the judiciary to stay away from it as much as possible. And I don't know who can do it. Maybe the judiciary themselves. They need to speak to themselves to ensure consistency in their judgment and to insist that their judgment are respected. But before they can ask for their judgment to be respected, they need the moral authority to ensure that judgments are consistent. Where there is no consistency, where people know that they can shop around for judgment, then they are going to do it, and that is to the detriment of justice.
Strong words there for the PDP, not just for the opposition party alone, but also for all political parties in Nigeria. And we hope that, there will be a solution, however evasive it would be, to this leadership crisis currently plaguing the People's Democratic Party. We must thank you very much for coming on the program. We've been talking with Professor Anthony Killer on this particular one. Professor Killer is the Director, Center for International Advanced and Professorial Studies and Professor of Strategy and Development. Thank you for coming on the Morning Brief.
Thank you for having me.
And there's more to reflect on: local government administration. And of course, the Nigerian candidate that is positioning to take up the role of UN Secretary General. Will it be possible? We'll have more for you after this time out. Join us again.
Welcome back to the program, and let's bring you Dr. Bolaji Taiwo is the President and CEO of Global Innovation Holdings Incorporated, and also an international strategic leader who has his eyes on the UN Secretary General position. Dr. Taiwo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Good to see you. Let's begin with what the perception of the United Nations is, and before we talk to you about why you're interested in the job, and then we'll piggy around real-life situation that the League of Nations is dealing with. I remember, like all of us witnessed at the UNGA that happened in New York just, I think last month or so, where Donald Trump was literally lambasting the UN. Of course, you know how Donald Trump talks. But his position was more like the ineffectiveness of the UN. In fact, almost how many years after, decades after, people are beginning to ask questions about the relevance of the UN, because it looks like a toothless bulldog, as some people refer to it in that sense, given that big nations who have all this military might take action, sometimes unilaterally, and no matter what the United Nations says, it's inconsequential. So the question is, how would you assess the state of the United Nations today?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I speak as a UN veteran. I speak as someone that has participated in UN peacekeeping operations worldwide. Now, you rightly said, the United Nations, as it stands, is like a toothless bulldog. But the time has come where we need to address the root cause of the division in the United Nations, and we need to imbibe new energy, which is the strong points and the focus that I'll be addressing when I become the next United Nations Secretary General. I recall very well instances when I was in Cambodia, East Timor, and even in Afghanistan. Yes, there needs to be reform in the United Nations. Yes, there is the need for nations to actually have their opinion heard at the global stage. And when I become the next United Nations Secretary General, Africa will be at the center of my campaign. Africa will play a pivotal role in global decision making. Thank you.
I don't know whether you particularly have answered my question, but I know just an assessment. So do you agree that United Nations is technically ineffective? Perhaps that's a better way I will put it.
I agree with that, and there's a need to have reform, the need for nations to have their voices heard, the need to obey the rules of international law. Thank you.
All right. I'm just reading from the website now, and there is this advocacy, for a woman leader to take up the central position at the United Nations this time around, because there has never been a woman leading, that humongous organization. I know that, you're advancing your own cause, but I just want to know your thoughts on the advocacy for a woman leader.
Thank you very much. I've often been, and I'm still, an advocate for women to aspire to leadership roles. I always tell colleagues that the best manager in the world are women. And as you know, a woman gives birth to a child, and a child that does not know how, when he or she needs food, they take care of the baby right from infancy unto adulthood. I respect the need for women to be leaders, but I come from a different perspective. I have participated in the UN system. I know the strengths and weaknesses of the UN system, and I'm bringing a new energy towards the resolve of emerging challenges in the world. I've got experience in post-conflict resolution. I've had experience in international development initiatives, and I'll be bringing renewed energy for reform in the United Nations.
Dr. Dao, so let me put two questions in one for you. So what exactly are you bringing that is different from what we have seen? That's question number one. And number two, I want you to nexus it with the challenge you are facing. There's now a debate around Nigeria, around issues of killings in the north and genocide and no genocide. That debate, I think I've forgotten his designation now, was denying that there's no Christian genocide. Well, Khan has doubled down. These are the kinds of interventions that UN is supposed to come in to address in finding a path to peace. So first, what are you bringing to the table? And if you were sitting on that table, what would you be saying now to Nigerians?
We need, just as I've advocated in my 5-point manifesto, we need to live and promote coexistence, be it cultural, religious, ethnic, or even different opinions by leaders of the world. We need to allow the rule of law to take preeminence. Criminal activities and criminalities should not be condoned. It should not be allowed to interfere with our ways of life. I will not want to dabble into internal politics of countries, but my message is this: let peace reign. Let us restore the dignity of humanity rather than killing one another. Thank you.
And that's significant also when you consider happenings around the world. But you've also said that if you take up that position, Africa will be the centerpiece of your work, and we can draw from what's happening in Sudan, even in Nigeria. What would be your approach? What would you do differently in terms of deployment to ensure peace in this region?
Diplomacy is not submission, it's negotiation. I will engage global powers with firmness and fairness, ensuring African interests are respected, not sidelined. And Nigeria has led with courage from peacekeeping to diplomacy. I will ensure our contributions are recognized, our youth are empowered, and our voice is heard at the highest level of global leadership. I will ensure and advocate for Security Council reform, greater transparency in UN spending, and stronger accountability in peacekeeping and humanitarian operations. When it comes to the conflicts that we are facing in Africa, I will be an advocate for peace in Africa. I'll be championing discussions on on a one-to-one with the warring parties. I recall very well when I was participating in the United Nations mission in Cambodia way back in 1991. There were 4 warring parties in Cambodia. As you know, the killing fields that took place in Cambodia. I was also part of discussions after the genocide in Rwanda. I participated there as the UN chief in charge of ensuring that development planning in Rwanda is based on facts. And I recall very well that the 2012 Rwanda Population and Housing Census has been the bane for development in that country. So as Africans, we need to use precision-guided technologies to solve our current challenges and make sure that Africa leads the world. Thank you.
Dr. Bolaji Taiwo, we must thank you and wish you well. I don't know how much of national support you're getting yet. I don't know whether you've spoken to the president. I don't know where you're calling because it takes a lot to get there. Dr. Taiwo is the president CEO of Global Innovations Holdings and also an international strategic leader who has been playing a key role at the UN for many, many, many years, as you've heard him say. Thank you, sir, and we hope to have you yet again at some other time.
Thank you. If you give me a minute, I will use the opportunity to advocate and ask for the support of my candidacy to be the African Consensus candidate. And you can follow my campaign on #Taiwo for UNSG. Thank you.
All the best, sir. Thank you. Okay, just before, excuse me, begin to wrap up the show, we want to talk about local government administration. Excuse me. And that is to the effect that just a few days ago, we got court judgment in Lagos to the effect that local governments are to regulate and supervise, or superintend, if you will, over issues around outdoor advertising. If you check the fourth schedule of the Constitution that has the role or the duties of the local government, I think in paragraph 1I or so, you see exactly that. But that has been a contentious issue between the Advertising Council and the local government. Now, we understand there are 2 judgments. One in Lagos in favor of local government administration being in charge of outdoor advertising, and the one in Lokoja in Kogi State being in favor of the Advertising Council. So that's the big conversation. Kola, you have the next one.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Jeffrey, for setting the tone for that conversation. And joining us to have it is Mr. Aliu Kankara, is the National President, National Union of Local Government Employees. Mr. Kankara, thank you for joining us on this one.
Thank you for having me.
Good
morning.
Yeah, you've heard the 2 court judgments, one in favor of local governments to regulate outdoor advertisement, and the other in favor of the Advertising Regulatory Authority. But it's already captured in the Constitution, as Jeffrey has explained. So I'm wondering, and I'm sure members of your association too would be wondering, if this isn't tantamount to reinventing the wheel.
No, you see, the Federal High Court judgment in Lagos it has vindicated our position. We have been saying that some of these federal government agencies and state government agencies are encroaching into the revenue of the local government, thereby denying local government resources. And the decision of this court has reaffirmed that, and we are happy, and it's a good one for local government councils in Nigeria.
I know that I'm trying to get the exact, I think paragraph 1, I can see it now. Paragraph 1K, I, which is this first schedule, is where it is control and regulation of outdoor advertising and hoarding, movement and keeping of pets of all descriptions, shops and kiosks, restaurants, bakeries, and other places of sale of food to the public, laundries, licensing, regulation, and control of sale of liquor. Now, there's a lot that is on the door of the local government, and now we have this judgment. But I want you to speak to another judgment that in speaking to the leadership of the Advertising Council yesterday, I was meant to understand that there's another judgment in Lokoja that was not in your favor. Are you aware of that judgment?
No, I'm not aware of that judgment. What I know is we have a judgment, I think precisely August 2023, by Court of Appeal. And that judgment is on registration of marriages, births, and deaths, which is in favor of local government. So I'm not aware of this local court judgment you are talking about.
But Mr. Kankara, it's already captured in the Constitution. So the question really is, and we're talking about 1999 Constitution as amended. So the question will be, have local governments been providing intervention or been, living up to the mandate as provided in the Constitution over the years, regulating advertising? Because we see more of states showing up in that space, and we have state regulatory agencies.
Yes, local government has been regulating outdoor advertising in the past years. What you are seeing now is as a result of direct interference by the state government on the activities of local government in Nigeria. This is a manifest of that, involvement by state government in the activities of local government. But when local government, if you go down the history lane, you can see that when local government were truly autonomous in Nigeria, all this revenue you are talking about were being collected by the local government. And they were the one controlling and regulating outdoor advertising in Nigeria. It's after the state government has interfered into the activities of the local government, they hijack the functions of the local government. That's why you are seeing what you are seeing now. But this thing doesn't even have to go to court because it was very clear in the Constitution that control and regulation of outdoor advertising is a function of the local government.
Mm. So, I want to believe that now that this judgment is in your favor, have you heard anything from the Advertising Council in terms of what do you call it now, appeal at the appeal court? And then how has implemented, when did this judgment come? When did it happen? Was it this month or last month? And how do you want to navigate the path of implementation? Because that has to do with collaboration with the state government besides the Advertising Council themselves.
Well, you see, the court has spoken. And like I said, it's very clear in the Constitution. And in local government, we have competent personnel to handle all this. We have a competent and well-manned revenue department in each local government council. So this is not, and like I said, this is not a new thing to local government. We have been doing it before, and we are ready to take up the challenge again. And for the Advertising Regulatory Council, they have not reached to us. Nobody talked to us, but what we know is this is a function of local government. Local government councils are prepared, are ready for it. We have been doing it, and we will continue to do it perfectly well.
You seem to be doubling down on, providing intervention in that area. I'd like you to mention states where the executives there give local governments the wherewithal to regulate advertising such that we can know those who truly align with the spirit of the Supreme Court judgment granting autonomy to local governments. So which states are allowing local governments to function in the regulation of advertising? And in the other states, what are the options to the local government administrations there, to live up to the constitutional mandate and provide intervention in advertising?
You see, maybe you don't understand the serious challenge local government are facing in Nigeria. This state government, they have hijacked all the functions of these local government councils, including this one you are talking about. So it is now that since the court have spoken, we will now take up the challenge. We will now take up the regulation and, control of this outdoor advertising agency like we have been doing before. In as much as local government is not independent, it's not autonomous, you cannot, complain about maybe they are not doing their best in ensuring that they took up all these challenges that are supposed to be taken by them, that were given to them by the Constitution. But now that the court have spoken, we are ready to, I believe all the local government councils in Nigeria, they are ready to take up this challenge, to take up this function and do it perfectly well, like I said.
Well, we hope that that will be the case, and it would be an interesting story to watch as it unfolds, if indeed it unfolds, that local governments, are able to regulate advertising and indeed provide functions, as provided for in the Constitution in their different localities. Mr. Aliyu Kankara is the National President, National Union of Local Government Employees. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And that's it on the show. But just before we go, perhaps we have time to bring you some of your thoughts. We must
totally
anchor
out of time,
at this point.
Bukola.
Yes.
They are screaming at the back. Thank you so much for your time and company. Sunrise Daily is up at the top of the hour. Catch you at noon on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. I am Bukola Koka.